Oh, okay. Okay.
So.
Yelling at me.
Good morning, everybody that's in attendance at either here or at Pace or online. We're gonna probably start in about 5 minutes. We have a service that does our website, and they take a couple of weeks to put links up, and so there isn't a link to this on our website. So our secretarial staff may be getting calls right now going, oh, where do I go? So I want to give everybody a few more minutes in case they're trying to chase their way into this meeting before we start. So we'll get going in, like I say, about 5 minutes. Great.
How long have you been with Alan Gill?
Almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years. Nice.
Yep, so the second week I was there, I had a phone call from Maria Stubbits, who's in contracts with National Park Service, and I negotiated a $2.6 million 8A set aside. Alan Gill's an 8A contractor for another year, and hopefully that'll be extended beyond that. Thank you very much.
Of course, no problem.
So are you familiar with the 8A program?
80.
So that was at Wheeler Peak Campground. So it's the only national park I'd never been to in the United States of America, including Hawaii and Alaska.
Wow, that's
And
impressive.
because I always wanted that, I don't call it a bucket list. I just call it something I wanted to do is go to all the national parks in the United States of America. Because I've never really traveled abroad much. And so that was the only one I hadn't been to. And it's a very remote location. It's actually super beautiful up there. So the campground was at over 10,000 feet, 10,169 to be exact, is the elevation at the campground.
Wow.
And it's like a mini Alps. There's just, it's vault toilets. They have running water. It's gravity flow. It's not pressurized. And so it's really like a backpacking or / hunting jump point, but really more it's backpacking. And it's also one of the
Morning, everybody. I'll go ahead and get started here. I'm Keith Krantz from Pace Engineering. I'm the project manager and engineer of this project. Appreciate everybody's time here to do the pre-bid meeting for the City of Yreka wastewater collection system improvements project. Right next to me is Matt Gray. He's the Public Works Director and be working closely with you guys through this process and whoever ends up being the awarded contractor. So a couple of things before we get started here too far, that'll probably answer questions right off. If you're not in attendance either here at City Hall or in Reading at Pace, I would like you to go and fill in the chat your name, your company's name, phone number, contact, and email address. So that way we have all those. We will transfer those onto the sign-up sheets. They will be part of the first addendum that goes out. So everybody will know who all has been in attendance. So let's make sure we do that. Some of the other things that'll be in that first addendum, there's a couple of little changes. One of them we'll talk about the quantities have adjusted a little bit, the approximate quantities, and any questions that are asked today and either answered today or answer them before that addendum comes out, they'll all be attached. So the first addendum will probably have a bunch of this stuff. So the agenda will also, this agenda that I'm reading from will also be attached, so you guys can see that and know what the bullet points were. Let's see, let's kind of go through the project here real quick. I think it's a really good project. We're giving a full year days with probably a likely winter shutdown, because a lot of this is in paving and you just can't pave up here probably from December through February at least. But it could be done quicker if you got multiple crews going. It's not super complex, but there's a fair amount of footage to it. This is funded by the Water Board, California State Water Board, Clean Water SRF. And so be aware, if you look in the bid packet, there's a lot of this information, but weeby requirements, your goals, forms, 30-day advertising, you got to do your due diligence on all of those, including making sure you're posting on the Subnet website, which is a small business administration website thing that I think is common now with all SRF projects. And that information is in the bid packet. Davis-Bacon or state prevailing wage is required, whichever is higher. This has AIS requirements, okay, but this project was approved prior to the Buy America requirements, so we don't have Buy America requirements at this point. Let's see, one other item that I'll bring up because I've started to use this. There's some questions. I think more contractors are getting comfortable with this because we at Pace have started to use this a lot, but we use the materials on hand lump sum item now. SRF will not reimburse for materials on hand if it's not a separate budget item. That was when we started this. So I just want to make sure everybody understands whatever number you put in there, you will be reimbursed 100% of that when city's representative agrees that it's on site in a safe location, just like always with with materials on hand, and your invoices are given and checked off. That's the amount you get. So if you bid $1 million and you'll give us $500,000 in invoices, that other 500 is sitting there until the end of the project and you'll get it in the last payment. So it's probably not a smart idea to overestimate that number, but that's up to you. And a lot of people just put zero there and don't fill it in, and that's fine too. But you won't get any materials on hand payments. You'll be getting just paid for whatever gets installed. So, so let's see, scope of the work. The advertisement for bid, there's been a few little changes on some of the quantities. I'm going to read them off. They'll be on this agenda, as well as these updates will be in the addendum because we'll tell you to replace those. And they're being massaged a little more. The city staff is continuing to work to try to clarify some uncertain areas between whether it's laterals, whether they need to be reroutes, or we've got a couple of alleys. We've designed the main a long ways, but we don't know where the last lateral is because you can't get a camera through it right now. So we're still kind of working on that. Hopefully we can clear all of that up. If it's a big difference, we will amend this further before the bid opening. But This is both a water and sewer project. I'll explain that a little more, but it's approximately 1,710 feet of 18-inch, 380 feet of 12-inch, 6,500 feet of 8-inch, 4,000 feet of 6-inch, and 3,500 feet of 4-inch sewer pipe. And again, those are approximate, but they should be in the ballpark. 35 new manholes, 17 new rod holes. We believe 216 two-way cleanouts, 23 back check valves, 24 rerouted laterals, and then 11 replumb laterals. And then the water portion, there'll be 190 feet of 8-inch, 760 feet of 6-inch, 45 feet of 4-inch, and 125 feet of 1-inch water pipe service with 2 fire hydrants and a CAV. And then there is a portion of this project that will have a chip seal over the whole road in certain areas. I believe that what sheet it is the last plan sheet in the documents, but we came up with approximately 105,000 square feet of chip seal that will need to be done. So going through this just briefly on these drawings, there's lots of notes on there. Make sure you read them clearly. I think it clarifies. So for example, in the chip seal sections, you don't need to do a full 3 inches of AC back in. We just need a firm base so that it's the same as the rest of the road when you chip seal it later. You don't have to go out 6 inches outside the trench line like you would normally elsewhere you're trench patching. So there's a lot of, and throughout the project, there's a lot of specific things because we're working in different areas of the town and have different issues. So make sure you're reading those notes on the sheets. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to read the project notes on the second page. There's a lot there, but it should be kind of a go-to for the majority of your construction related questions. Since these jobs are, this job is being done by lump sum, I have some definitions of like concrete replacement for a clean out. Well, how many square feet of concrete should you be expecting? And things like that to use in your calculations. So there isn't a problem. The water portion of this project, one water line is being put in as an alternate route, and it's really to benefit just the city and the system. The other two are because there's conflicts with the sewer. And in both cases, on sheet P2, I believe it is, and then on sheets, it's Oak Street Alley, we call it, I think it's P23 and 24. Those water mains have to be in, passed, live, everybody hooked up before you can start the sewer. They crisscross each other all over the place. The one on P2, the existing water line will hit the top of the sewer main when you put it in. So we have to move a fire hydrant and add some footage of pipes. So that's why there is some water in this. It's mostly a sewer project. A couple other things just on the sewer side. This is a very, I would call it a fairly shallow sewer project for the amount of footage. There are a few spots that are pretty deep, but most of it is 5 to 6 feet to the top of pipe. There's very little that gets real deep. And what it does is very short distance. So that makes it nice. Make sure you're aware, permits and licenses, OSHA, all of your OSHA stuff, obviously. SWIP is a risk level 1. You'll be required to prepare that document for approval. And then City Yreka requires a business license if you're doing work in their city. Caltrans encroachment permit, you're going to be a double permittee. We're in the process with Caltrans. We've submitted, there are 2 small spots. One, you're going to be putting a sewer main and doing a cast in place manhole in the main in the center of the street of Main Street. And then a few hundred feet away, there'll be a lateral that you're going to reroute out to the main. So there's 2 spots that you'll be in the Caltrans right away. Be aware there are restrictions. They're being very lax because they're going to come through within the next 2 years and completely redo the whole surface. So they're lax in some ways, but just assume you're going to have your normal Caltrans requirements to install those for your costs. When we do get the encroachment permit from them, because they've slowed down a lot on their paperwork process, we'll we'll provide that to you and you'll be a double permitting. One restriction in your construction, that work needs to be done before Caltrans goes through there and does their surface work. 3 months ago, their calendar was for summer of 2024 in the area we're at. But at any point, they've done it several times. They could flip it and all of a sudden go, oh no, this summer we're going to start working there. And so if that's the case, that may be one of the first places you'll have to work, because we have to be out of their way before they do their completely redoing the sidewalk and roadway. I've got a whole list here of the bid document requirements. So the bid form is all the stuff that you need to have attached to it. There's a whole list of them, and you can look at this, but they're all also listed out in your bid package. So I don't need to read through all of that. I just kind of have it there as a checklist to make sure you get everything included. The apparent low bidder is going to be ordered on the total base bid. We don't have it broken down. There's no addendums. We've been informed that the state will fund whatever the cost is, since it took them 4 years to go through their process. And obviously costs have gone way up since we budgeted this 4 years ago. So bid opening will be February 14th here at 2 o'clock. We will also have live, just like this, at Pace bid opening at the same time. So you can bring your bid packages to either place. We will publicly read them. We will tell you who the apparent low bidder is, and then we'll go through the process to verify that they were compliant with all of the requirements and all, and continue to process at that point. So that's February 14th, 2 o'clock. Notice of award. We're estimating, I think I got the wrong date on here. Cindy, I'm going to ask you, was it of February, right? Okay, that's what I thought. I put March. Yeah, so we're going to try to get this immediately onto the city council agenda so that we can have a notice of award out by February 22nd, theoretically 23rd, somewhere in that range. So that if you get the award, you can kind of have that in your calendar as to you can hit the ground running, get things ordered. I'm guessing construction starts, since this is basically a sewer project. The backup doesn't seem to be as much on most of the sewer stuff, although manholes can be an issue, bases. But I'm thinking mid-May to early June. There are some restrictions in different things. One of the big ones, and we've got notes on it, but we're crossing Humbug Gulch with almost no cover. It's on sheet P2. You cannot do any work there until it's completely dry. That's the environmental permit we've got. So be aware of that. It's normally dry in early June. I don't know about this year, but I think in normal wet years, it's dry in early June.
Yeah.
So unless we continue to get rain all the way through into May, or probably by early June, you should be able to get there. That area is probably the most challenging, I think, in some ways, because it's the flattest. That is a main interceptor you're putting in sheets P1 through P5, and it's 18-inch, most of it, and it's at minimum grade for a long ways to get as much cover as we can get until we get across Humbug Gulch. So the one good thing is it's fairly shallow. A lot of that's only got 3 to 4 feet of cover on it, so it'll help make sure that we get the it'll help you and make sure that we can verify that you're getting that minimum grade and not getting bellies and stuff in the pipe. Let's see. So 365 calendar days right now is what we're estimating this project to take. If you have multiple crews, it would definitely be less than that. We will have to work around weather issues, especially with paving. Most of this project is in paving. And so obviously we do not want to have, we're not going to allow, as you'll notice, there's sections in the sequence of work. You have a certain number of weeks to complete an area. Complete. That means putting the pipe in and getting surface restoration done. So the city residents have had a lot of patience in the last year, and they've got 2 more years of this Caltrans project with tore up roads everywhere. And so we cannot go and leave poor quality roads for months at a time. It's not going to work for anybody. So be aware of that restriction. That is in the engineer supplementary conditions in the sequencing of work area. Contract requirements, we already stated the prevailing wage requirements, the American Iron and Steel. That's both for the water and the sewer products. Payments will be withheld without the AIS requirements for the items that are installed. Bidders, contractors, and subcontractors working at a site have to be registered with the Department of Industrial Relations at the time of the bid opening. Okay, proof of registration shall be provided prior to commencement of any work. So be aware of that. That should not be an issue if you've been doing public works projects. If you're coming from the private side in, make sure you have that taken care of. That is the reason that we cannot award the project. SRF will not allow it. Field observations will be done both by Pace Engineering and the city's representatives. Let's see, construction overview. The city will provide staging for you at the city courtyard, which is on the north end of town. Some of you are very familiar with it, and Matt will work with you guys. Matt and Ben will work with you guys on a place to store all your stuff. Disposal site, it's going to be your responsibility to dispose of the soils. Be aware that you do need to be providing proof of the permits that are needed to dispose. So if you're putting a whole bunch in a spot, almost certain the county is going to require a grading permit. We need to see a copy of that just to make sure we're not dumping stuff somewhere that later on gets to be an issue and that the city is having to deal with it. So water will be available at fire hydrants identified by the city, and Matt and Ben will provide hydrant meter for you to use. There's going to be no formal site walk on this project. All the areas of this project can be seen from the street, except for some of the reroutes and replumbs. And so we did see a way of getting 24 residents all to agree that we could have 10 contractors wandering through their yards and site walk. So we, the city staff, I and a couple of the other engineers have tried to look into the backyards, walk them with people's permission, and then put on the plans the type of surface stuff you're going to deal with. If there's trees in the way, we've tried to come up with a conservative, longer route than we think you might need, but bid on what you're shown there. If it's different, there's something that comes up, like the connection point we think you're going to tie to in the backyard is different, well, we'll have to deal with that on an as cost basis. But there's no other way that I know of doing it. If you notice, the first 5 sheets have a lot of reroutes because the existing main goes literally under homes and through the middle of the blocks. And so their laterals literally carry under other people's homes and stuff. So we're having to reroute them back out to the street. So you can take a look at that. But like I said, just go with what we have there. If there's other things that come up that are costly, that aren't shown on the plans, you didn't put them in your original bid, we'll discuss them at the time. Let's see, there are a lot of locations where we have utility crossings that we have had to make assumptions on the depth of the existing utility. So you're going to be required 10 days before you start working to pothole everything and get that information to the engineer's representative so that we can make sure there aren't going to be some kind of a conflict where you start installing a main for 4 or 5 days and then we suddenly discover, oh yeah, well, we potholed that 6 days ago, but didn't tell us, and now we got a conflict. Now we got to dig up a bunch of pipe. So be aware of that. We're going to be pretty diligent on that because there's quite a few areas that we believe we're going to miss with our design, but we don't know for sure. So sewer lateral locations, most are approximate. If you look on the plans, if they're dashed, they're an assumption, either by a video or a clean out that's somewhere there. If they're solid, we're pretty confident that's exactly where the lateral is. All those need to be verified by the contractor. That needs to be included in your bid. That also includes that we don't hook up abandoned ones, and especially on North Street between Broadway and Oregon. Have a note there. The city's going to work closely. This last year, we had a sewer project here on Main Street where they work closely with the contractor, where you're going to literally have to open up the lateral. And then you're going to need to try to run a camera or something back up it to see if it's live or not. They run for a couple 300 feet. And so it's really hard to tell, but there's just a plethora of them. And we do not want to be hooking up a whole bunch of laterals that are dead ends that just pile a bunch of groundwater into the system. So make sure you have those kind of things included in your bid. Right entries, you're going to coordinate with the staff. You got to communicate with the city staff. The right entries obviously are going to be required for all work and private. There is going to be replumbing on several homes. There are several homes that their current sewer drops from under their house into the main that is under their house. So you're going to have to replumb. Any work inside the footprint of a structure is required to be done by a licensed plumber. That is in the contract. Make sure you have that added cost in there. We have estimated or trying to use judgment looking at a house, that one probably should be replumbed, because trying to reroute it from the back of the yard through a whole bunch of other stuff is going to be way more costly than just going under the house, trying to replumb it under the house. So there will be others that you may very well come and say, or my experience is you may, after actually investigating, because we haven't gotten down under the looking under the home and all, there may be other homes you're going to look at and you go, hey, can we go ahead and replumb this one? Well, that becomes a coordination between you and the homeowner and the city. But those are options are available if everybody in the group agrees. So sometimes those can make it a significantly cheaper effort than trying to do big, long reroutes. There is limited space in some of these, by the way. So be aware of that. We've called out a few of them, but when you drive the street, you'll see some of them have a fence and the structure, and you might have 3 feet there. That's it. So if you don't replumb that, which we may have not called it, you're going to have to somehow put that lateral in there in that window. So just be aware of all of these things. I'm trying to bring out all of the little, I'll call it, oh, I didn't realize that was there, things that could add definitely cost to your project. I want to make sure everybody is bidding really on the same project. Traffic control, obviously with Caltrans, their encroachment permit, you're gonna have to meet their traffic control requirements, and it won't be real extensive because it's a nice area on the north end of Main Street that you're gonna be in. But the rest of it, you need to work with the city and PACE. Some of the smaller surface streets, city will allow closures during the day while you're working, but it's all got to be buttoned up so that full traffic can go both ways after you're done each day. Insurance, be aware that the city, like a lot of these small communities, they're self-insured by a whole bunch of small communities, and they've upped their requirements for insurance. So make sure you look at those. I'm trying to remember what they are, but I know they're definitely more than what they were 3 or 4 years ago, and it's definitely an additional cost. So make sure you look at that when you do your bid. Let's see, we already talked about the water main replacements. Sewer bypass pumping is going to be required throughout this project in different locations. Sometimes it's just to a connection point where you're putting a new manhole in. Sometimes we're doing a replace in place due to conflicts elsewhere in the street. So be aware of that. I think there will be good portions that you should be able to do the old classic, plug the upstream manhole, get a stick of pipe in, release the upstream manhole with a temporary connection, and then continue to go when you're in a replace in place construction area. Let's see, I already talked about the addendum. The first addendum, which will have all of the stuff I talked about earlier on it, will probably be early next week. I'm hoping that we'll have it up Monday. If you have any questions, you can get a hold of me at PACE, phone number and everything, and email, I believe, also are all on the front sheets. There's 3 or 4 different sheets that have it in the front 10 or 15 of the project manual. The cutoff time so that we have time to answer any questions you have, and to get it in the last addendum, which will have the Davis-Bacon wage stuff and all, is February 7th. So make sure that's a week before the bid opening. Any questions you need answered, we have them by then, so that plan will be by February 10th, we'll have the last addendum out. So Matt, I'm gonna turn it over to you for a second. Do you have any questions or anything?
I do not. You covered what I needed to.
Okay, perfect. So I'll open it up. If anybody has any questions, we could go ahead and you could put them in the chat, or you could verbally, if you're in person, definitely do it. If you could just ask it verbally. And we'll go ahead and I may not be able to answer them immediately, but I will have the answer when we get the first addendum out.
All at once.
Yeah. All right, well, good news. Looks like I said, you guys know, as you start digging into these plans, there probably will be things that will come up. Go ahead and contact us. Me or Aaron, you'll see their names are also on the documents at Pace. If I'm not in for some reason, I'm gonna have surgery February 1st, so I may be out for 3 or 4 days. And so if you call in that time frame, don't have a problem contacting Aaron with your questions, and we will get an answer, endeavor to get an answer for you.
Sounds great.
All right. If that's it, then thanks so much, you guys, for your time, and hopefully you guys will get a good bid package together, and look forward to seeing you guys on the 14th. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah.